This podcast deals with themes, languages, and situations that may not be suitable for young audiences. If you're under the age of 18, parental guidance isn't going to help you here. Welcome to Now Open the Podcast, the sex education podcast that's more sex than education. I'm Trisha.
And my name is Jobim.
I'm Bresh.
Thank you for joining us again. Well, you're here today.
Well, I'm here today.
And you're here today because tonight's episode is about one of the most common and yet one of also the most judged sexualities. Today we are talking... Most what?
Most overlooked also, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody cares about us, but they're obsessed with us. Anyway, so today we are talking about bisexuality. But before we get into that, we'd like to thank our partner for this episode, Ilya. Ilya, come and play.
Right. But before we get to that, the newsstand. Just this week, the New York Post released an article about New York City Council candidate named Zach Wiener. Weiner?
I think it's Wiener. Maybe.
Okay. Impressive.
So what
named
Mr.
Zach Wiener, who was caught with dominatrix in leaked video, according to the headline. Surprisingly, internet reception to the news was positive. Many people came out in support of Wiener's consensual sexual activities and condemned. Please try to maintain a decorum of respect during the newsstand.
For Mr. Wiener.
Please.
Sorry.
Wiener's consensual activities and condemned the New York Post for basically posting revenge porn. In fact, there was so much positive buzz that some people are theorizing that Wiener leaked it himself to turn the election in his favor. The first time ever that a leaky Wiener did any good.
I'm so sorry. This is definitely a last name, but it's just kind of funny how it's attached to this particular.
Yeah. Wasn't there also a guy, a politician in the U.S. who released like dick pics and his last name was also Wiener?
No. Of course.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes.
What are the odds? What are the
So
odds?
did you see this? Did you see this news article? Y'all's on it was on Twitter. It was all over the
It was
place.
Anthony Weiner, my guys. It was Anthony Weiner who was caught sexting somebody.
But wasn't like the person that Wiener was caught sexting was like either too young or like some kind of.
She was 21, and the issue was that he was a politician sexting somebody, right? Which is like no if you get into politics.
Well, this dude literally, like, if you look at the New York Post article, don't give them clicks, don't give them views. There's a screenshot of the video. So they don't actually post the video, but they post a screenshot, and this dude is bound and gagged. And then there's like this dominatrix lady standing over him in a dungeon. So it's pretty explicit what's going on there. Yeah, the statement he released was just like, I'm a BDSMer. I like BDSM. This is consensual.
Right, yeah. I think what we're witnessing right now is a shift in what is considered news, a shift in the I don't know, the atmosphere in what is considered news, because I think people around my age will hear news like this or will see a headline like that and not take a second look at it, because at the back of your mind, there's a little voice in your head that goes, that's what the news does. You know, they put out these sensationalist stories, especially about people in power or people of fame. But it reminds me of this recent interview of Ricky Martin, where they talked about him coming out and an interview that he had with Barbara Walters circa 2000, where she asked him are you gay? You can put a stop to the rumors right now. Are you gay? It's just a simple yes or no question. And in this recent interview, Ricky Martin says, I don't even think you can ask questions like that anymore. You know, and when he said that, I mean, it's something I knew today, but when he said it, it really hit me. And it hit me that I didn't even, I lived through a transition where you can't ask people whether they're gay or not anymore. Not that it was ever okay, but, you know, became socially unacceptable to ask whether they were, unacceptable to ask whether they were gay or not, and didn't notice it. So what I think what we're seeing now is a general change in the attitude towards what would have been considered sexual deviancy in an earlier time. Now I think that especially young people are hearing this news and going, what's the big deal? This guy was engaging in a consensual sexual activity, you know, that he probably paid good money for. You know what I mean?
He
like,
definitely did. Those New York doms charge a pretty penny.
Exactly. I mean, like, you wouldn't be able to afford one of those people who are making fun of him, you know? So,
and honestly, it's just, in the past few years, how many times have we heard sex scandals that were way worse? Trump literally grabbing people by the pussy, or people, you know, drugging. You know, this is such a mild non-story. It's like a very obvious attempt to either drum up his numbers for the election or create backlash, like whichever of the two it actually is. But it's a non-story. Nobody cares.
I think that actual sexual misconduct has gotten so rampant in the news lately that they need something to they need to sensationalize regular stuff just to keep on, you know, on slow news days. Like it's like what Trisha said, it's a non-story, right? It's not even sexual misconduct. It's literally a dude in his own time. I'm trying not to swear. I've been trying not to swear since we came on air, man. In his own time, doing his own business. What does it matter? You know what? If we found out today that the president of the Philippines liked to get his ass slapped in his spare time, I wouldn't even be like,
I would just be like, that checks out.
Yeah, I wouldn't even hate it.
My favorite comment about this whole debacle, it's like, good on the New York Post for trying to shame a man who probably has a humiliation kink.
That's the best.
He was like, this was my plan all along.
He's like reading the newspaper. All right. Well, I guess that was the newsstand. Now sitting down. If you're listening live and like what you hear, you can join the discussion by leaving a comment below. If we have time, we'll get to them as soon as the show goes on. Join in on a conversation on the now open PH Discord server. Where you'll I don't know what's wrong with my mouth today.
It's your vaccine.
Teeth in the lip. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Okay. Join in on the conversation on the now open PH Discord server, where you'll be free to talk about anything and everything sexuality with like-minded people. Respectfully, of course. You can find the link to the server in the episode description. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you guys all know what the episode is about because you're tuned in. But recently, and this just happened today or yesterday, there was a recent survey done in Australia. And I think it was a network, Australia Talks. There you go. They reached out to 60,000 people to hear their opinions on politics, the environment, technology, yada, yada, yada. The survey asked respondents, assuming they weren't in a relationship, very non-inclusive of people, of polygamous people, I might add. The survey asked respondents, assuming they weren't in a relationship, how open they'd be to romantic involvement with someone who identifies as bisexual. And a whopping 44%, that's almost half if you're as bad at math as I am, said they weren't into the idea at all. Like,
zero.
At all. That's disgusting.
Not even a speck of interest.
Absolutely not. According to the conversation, 1 in 25 Australians, that's 4%, are identify as either gay or bi. 2018 Triple J survey also found that while 83% of gay men and 86% of gay women have come out, less than half of bi people have done the same. Hosts Annabelle Crabb and Nazim Hussain clarified that the conversation deepened on age and that for young Australians, their partner being bi wasn't as big a deal. In fact, 84% of 18 to 24-year-olds were cool with it. So majority. For Aussies older than 75, more than 3/4 of people said that was a deal breaker.
So it's really the old people who are skewing the numbers.
Which, I mean, is not a surprise. It's not surprising. And when we get to that, I know this isn't like the most healthy way to look at it, but I'm also thinking they're gonna die soon. We don't. I am of the persuasion that you can't necessarily teach an old dog new tricks, right? Old people are just stubborn like that. They're the hardest people to get to because, as far as they know, the world is a certain way, and young people are just trying to change it, right? So they're like, nah, absolutely not. Get the bi people out of my beach. I don't know what they say, but yeah. So when I hear, oh, old people are being old people again, I'm like, let them. They're gonna be dead sooner than we even know, man. It doesn't really matter. The world's not for them anymore. So yeah. So what do you have to as bi people yourself? Bye. What do you have to say about Australia's response to bi people?
I was telling you before the show started, I was a little surprised because there's another statistic, which I can't remember the number, but basically you are more likely to have a threesome in Australia than anywhere else in the world because they just really love their threesomes. They like their swinging. They like their group sex. They like their sex parties. And I would assume that if you're having sex with like multiple, like more than one person, that one of them is bound to be somebody of a different or the same sex. And I'm just like, how it just doesn't compute for me. Really?
Right. But we also have to take into consideration that this was like 60,000 people. Where were these 60,000 people from? Whenever these small surveys are taken, I always take them with a grain of salt because surveys are a limited group more often than not.
I don't understand sample sizes. I don't know if 60,000 is representative of the Australian population, but
the statistic that stuck out to me in the article anyway was that while 83% of gay men and 86% of gay women have come out, less than half of bi people have done the same. And that stood out to me because do bi people feel the need to come out?
I mean, I did when I first identified as bi, for sure.
I think this represents how little bi visibility we really have, because we hear a lot about gays, we hear a lot about lesbians, we hear a lot about transsexuals, but the B in LGBTQ is rarely ever brought up. It's just like, yeah, dude, there's straight people that sometimes suck dick or eat pussy. They're just, whatever. That's just not the case, is it? So today, I think today would be a really great opportunity to break it down and really talk about what I feel is the most underrepresented group in the acronym.
I mean, I think there are other like really unrepresented ones, like asexuals. But like,
but they're not in the acronym.
They are. They're in the.
They are exactly.
IA plus. They are in there. Okay, but see, like when you take the shortened acronym of LGBT, it's not even LGBTQ. Like you have bisexual right in there, and yet still so many people have a lot of misconceptions. And I honestly also started out with a lot of misconceptions about bi people. So I'm sure I've talked about this on the show before. I started as a lesbian. I identified as a lesbian for so long, maybe up until the age of like 16, 17. And in college, I started liking, one specific guy. And it threw me into like an existential crisis because I was already like, I'm a lesbian, I'm like, fuck compulsory heterosexuality, and I love women, and I'm to hell with the patriarchy, right? And then when I started liking men, I was just like, that's when I wanted to go to a psychologist. I was freaking out because I was like, oh my god, I like men, I'm freaking out. And I got the number of a psychologist. I never went. But I was freaking out, and it really took me a very long time to come to terms with it. I didn't even want to use the term bisexual because I had so many hangups about the label, which we'll get into later about some of the hangups because it's very common to have these hangups. But
So I have a question.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so would you say that your struggle with that was more of like an internal thing rather
No, I
than
would
an external force kind of putting it on you, saying that you can't be bi or you shouldn't be?
Well, I was taking into consideration at the time the discussions around bisexuality. So this was maybe like in the early 2010s or early 2010s. And the
What discussion about bisexuality?
Exactly.
There was
It's like, what discussion? So, and I came from an all girls school where everybody was a lesbian until graduation. And then they got to college, and then some of them started just like they stopped being lesbian because it's just how it is sometimes, proximity. But I wasn't feeling that. I was still attracted to women, and I was also liking men, and I just really didn't know where to position myself. And part of it is because I knew how the world saw bisexuals, so I just didn't want to use that word, and I kind of fed into it.
How did you think the world excuse me, how does the world perceive bisexuals then?
My biggest hang up at the time was I did not want to identify as bisexual because I wanted people to know that I liked women more. I because like I felt that if I said, I'm bisexual, a lot of people, and even now, still assume that you're either 50-50 or you look at me and I'm kind of femme-ish some days, and you think, oh, she probably likes men more and just like kisses women on the side. And I didn't want that. I wanted people to know, no, I like women first and foremost. That's who I am. And if I use the term bisexual, people are going to start putting all these assumptions on me that I don't want, because I don't want to have to explain that.
So as we like right out the gate, there's already so much confusion and so much ambiguity surrounding the term bisexuality because it's not talked about as much. So what exactly is bisexuality? Now, bisexuality can mean different things to several people, but for this episode, we will understand bisexuality as a valid lifelong identity that consists of sexual attraction that is not confined to one gender. And we'll get more into the validity of lifelong identity later. But let's discuss the difference between, because bisexuality gets confused with so many other things, right? Oh, you like men and women. You must be
Half gay.
Then. You must be, you must, so you only have relationships with women, but you have sex with men, then you must be gay then, right? There's a lot of misconceptions. So what the first one we're going to tackle is the difference between bisexuality and pansexuality. Trisha, what is pansexuality?
So we take it from the, I don't know if it's Greek or Latin or whatever. Yeah, root words. Root words. So like, right, bi to sexuality, and then pan, which means bread. I mean, all. So basically, it's a difference between bisexuality, where you have an attraction to two or more genders. Pansexuality is you're attracted to all or regardless of gender. So gender doesn't really play much of a deal, or you like all genders, especially now that when I first was trying to figure out the difference between bisexuality and pansexuality, I didn't understand it. I was like, what do you mean two or more genders? I didn't get that. I was like, what's the or more?
Because
right?
When you say bi, that prefix is two.
Yes.
Right? So just now I'm having my mind blown because I thought that bisexual meant that you were attracted to somebody who identifies as male, or somebody who identifies and presents like you're attracted to the male energy,
Sure.
Male or female, right? But now I'm getting that it's not limited to just male or female.
Yeah, so obviously the term bisexual has changed over the years. In the last episode, or there was another episode, we talked about how the word bisexual was introduced in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. So it's a relatively new word compared to all the other words we have, and it has changed a lot. So there was a time when it just meant two genders, but now we're getting into, it's really much more common now to see not just male or female as, people's genders. So now it actually makes more sense to me that bisexuality means two or more. Because, for example, you could be attracted to women and non-binary people, and then just not be attracted to men, which I understand,
And that's so
and that would be bisexuality.
All right. So just a question: is bisexuality more defined by its exclusion of what genders they are not attracted to?
I think not necessarily, because you could be bisexual in like a lot of genders, but perhaps you have a preference or gender plays a role in your attraction. So like in my case, it's very, very easy for me to get attracted to women. Very easy. Love it. But men, there's like a little bit more.
So the nuance between pansexuality and bisexuality lies in whether or not gender matters in factoring into your attraction.
Yeah, that's what I would think. The real big difference.
Okay. So if you're trying to get like a Cliff's Notes version of it, the good rule of thumb is if somebody's pansexual versus bisexual, they are pansexual if gender does not play a role in whether or not they are attracted. That's your Cliff's Notes version of it.
Yes, of course.
All right. What are some other? Okay, a good question that I got asked just today, actually. When I told somebody that our episode was going to be about bisexuality, a very honest question, earnestly asked was, ano yung gender fluidity? Diba? If I want to separate whether somebody is bisexual or gender fluid.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the thing about being gender fluid, it's not about who you want to have sex with. I'm trying not to swear, but yeah. So it's not about your sexuality. It's about your gender identity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more about who you are
rather than okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to some of the okay, no, none of the comments here. Larry says, I still haven't felt with regards to like whether or not bi people come out. Larry says, I still haven't felt the need to come out. I mean, like I know how my straight friends talk. When you guys came out as bisexual to your friends, what were the things that you were afraid of, and what were the things that actually happened?
I wasn't really scared, I think, because again, like most of my friends did end up liking men in college. So I was like the last frontier. I was the last lesbian. And so to me, it was just like, well, I guess we're all bi now. Fuck. I'm trying not to swear. But I did it anyway. But yeah, like so all of them were already bi, so it was just like I guess they were waiting for me. I was actually a little bit relieved in some way because I knew it relieved some of the pressures with my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know they didn't want me to be homosexual or bisexual. I know that they would prefer for me to be straight, partly because of religion, partly because it just your life's easier, you know? Right. They didn't want me to have a hard time. So when I came out as bisexual, it just seemed like, okay, well, she's halfway there. This is fine. This is a compromise. So yeah, I wasn't really like super scared. I think I was just putting a lot of pressure on myself. It was more about how I wanted to be perceived by the outside world. And then you realize the outside world doesn't really care about perceiving you. You're not as important as you think.
Well, I think for me, I wasn't really afraid per se, but I think I was just annoyed at how people around me accepted, or rather just understood what bisexuality was, or like not being straight, because it's I grew up in a Christian family and in a very, very Catholic school, so you can like imagine. And when I would hear them talk about, oh, are you lesbian, like parang there's there's so much weight in that. Are you a lesbian?
They're
And like, what
already
more?
sensationalizing the question.
Yeah, and I felt more annoyed because I think my general kind of outlook in life even back then was just very like chill and laid back. Like, I'm just gonna let you be whatever you are, right? And I was kind of irritated that not everybody shared that kind of sentiment. That's not how everybody looked at sexuality, and not ever how everybody looked at just who you want to love. So yeah, it was more of just anger and annoyance for me.
All right, thanks for that.
We have a comment here from Nick who said the bi versus pan discussion has always been a heavy question directed towards me as a pan person. So Nick, if you'd like to expound a little further, we can read it out and share your experience.
Randall also says Catholic schools are as gay as it gets.
Very
Yep.
true.
Hopefully, between the students, and
Most of the time.
most of the time.
In a majority of
Yeah.
cases, yes.
On that note, I think it's a good time to take a break. We want to thank once again our partner for this episode, Ilya. If you want a sex toy shop that won't intimidate you or make you suddenly close your tabs at work, visit www.shopilya.com. Yeah, I mean, I've been on their website, man. It's as legit as it gets. There are some other sex toy websites that, you know, you click it and then the window opens and then plays in the background and you're like, oh crap, I've shut my, you know. There's like
We've all been there.
people on the sides of the, you know, just on the sides of the thing, and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this at Starbucks. But yeah, no, you can totally shop for Ilya stuff at a Starbucks. You can shop for it on your phone while you're on the train. It's super good. If you like what you hear and you want to support your beloved sexual delinquents, you can send us money like the whores we are for less than the price of one cup of a bougie coffee per month. You can keep your favorite sex podcast up and running for many episodes to come. It comes with a lot of goodies like extra content, special shout-outs, and exclusive access to a VIP customer channel on Discord. You can even suggest an episode. It helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. And now, back to the discussion.
Yes. So earlier we talked about the differences between bisexuality and pansexuality, and some of our experiences that we've had. Well, not you, Jobem, but me and Presh have had coming out as bisexual and how it's affected us. And I think there was like a common thread with our experiences where, I don't know about you, Presh, but for me, it was easier to accept internally, but when you start bringing it out into the outside world, that's where it gets terrifying, because you know that people don't always understand your sexuality or have the right idea about it. And they look at you in a very different way. There's a lot of stigma around being bisexual.
Right.
So one of the biggest effects of this stigma is bi erasure. So I think it was, somebody said here in the comments, it was Tin. The B in LGBTQ is in lowercase.
Like,
LGBTQ.
It's LG. Yeah. So yeah, there's like a lot of bi erasure. They're like, are you really part of this community? And basically what bi erasure is, it's the silencing mechanism that treats bisexual individuals as invisible, not real, not part of the community, and basically just trying to box them into something that people understand and grasp better. Like, right, like one of the biggest things is like, you're not bi, you're just gay, but you refuse to admit it.
Yeah, I think that bi people get a bad, as a straight guy, I think the bi people get a bad rap because bi people are the ones on the sexuality spectrum who quote unquote pass, right? They're the passers of the community. Like,
they have it easy.
Exactly. I think because they're still to some degree heteronormative, that it's easier for straight people to accept them and see them as one of their own. Oh, you're just a straight person with a little something extra. You know what I mean? And because of that, the nuances that we've been discussing about bisexuality just dissolve in the conversation, because so many people think that they already understand what it means to be bi. So yeah, when we talk about bi erasure, we also talk about bi invisibility and monosexism. What does that mean, Trisha?
So monosexism is the idea that you can really only be attracted to one gender. There's nothing in between. It's just one or the other, man. You have to choose. It's a Sophie's choice. Like what? And the problem with monosexism is that it's one thing to get it from straight people. Like you already understand as a member of the community that straight people don't know jack crap, and when you get it also from the LGBTQ community, it's even worse. But you see a lot of this. You see a lot of gay people being like, you can't like both or many. You can only like one. And, like with the straight people, bisexuality is treated as illegitimate, especially when you're a bi woman. They kind of like over sexualize it. Because like you think about all the early 2000s films that kind of fetishized bisexual women. What was Denise Richards' film In the Pool?
Or how about just the fact that mainstream media wants to normalize that all women are somehow bi? Like you can flip a switch and then, it's a delivery guy's gonna show up and all of a sudden the lesbians are bi.
It's only really acceptable to be bisexual if it's in service of male pleasure, right? Mm-hmm. Like how many straight guys, just do a quick survey of all of your straight male friends and ask them, do you want to have a threesome with two women? Take note of their answers and then ask them if they want to have a threesome with their girlfriend or their partner and another man, and then see how many still say yes. A lot of men have this fantasy.
Absolutely. I mean, as one of those men, I can vouch for that. And it's not like when people talk about bisexuality and they go, well, how would you know if you've never tried it? And then people, my favorite response is always, I don't need to eat a piece of shit to know that it's gonna taste bad. You're not. How are you comparing those two? It's not the same, bro. Like, no. So yeah, on that note, there was a time in my life where I thought I might be bi, right? And I tried to open myself up to that, but the more I found myself opening up to it, the more it became clear to me that I was just very straight. And the thing that I was gravitating towards, because I don't have a lot of close guy friends. And I didn't grow up with a lot of close guy friends. Most of the strong relationships that I forged growing up that are still strong today are with female friends. I'm not what you'd call a guy's guy. I'm always the one dude in the barcada being like, nah, that's not, and they don't like having me around. So I gravitated towards the male bonding that I did not have. I gravitated towards the brotherhood, the camaraderie, and I mistook that for like, oh, maybe there's something more here. Maybe there's a reason that I'm always looking forward to seeing this person or hanging out with these people. But I tried to open myself up to it, and there was just really nothing, Whenever I try to get into like, am I looking at that guy because I find him attractive? I'm like, I think he's attractive, but I'm not attracted to him. So the reason I can say I'm straight is because I've opened myself up to trying to be bi, and it's not in the cards, man. And I think that the bisexuals are happier that I am not a part of their ranks.
My friend actually has a very similar story. He was like, am I bi? I think men are attractive. And then he just, I had a friend who thought that, you know what, men could be attractive, I guess. Let's see if this works out. Actually has sex with a man multiple times. And it's just like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Not for me, yeah.
It felt good because it's sex. Yeah. But, you could have been a woman with a strap on and it would have felt the same.
It's the same principle as like, I jerk off to some fucking weird things. And damn it. I jerk off to some weird things. But it doesn't mean that that's my main go-to thing. Just because I like something, it doesn't define my sexuality or my sexual tastes. It's just a piece of that. And if you're not out on that limb far enough to call yourself bi, then I guess you're fine saying you're not bi, dude.
And unfortunately, you're kind of already like one step ahead of a lot of people in the community, because for a lot of gay people in the community, being bisexual to them is a phase. You know, it's a transitionary midpoint stopover on your way to your quote unquote true sexuality. You know, or like a lot of them think, are you just scared to come out as
Let's talk
lesbian
about
or
that.
gay?
Let's talk about that point, because that's a really interesting point to me. Uh, is it? I don't think that it's unfair to say that people who are uh, not straight, you know, if they belong to the LGBTQIA plus, then it's a journey, right? There's a reason that they call discovering your sexuality a journey, is because you have a lot of stops along the way, as opposed to if you're straight, you go to college, you think you're gay for a bit, then you're straight again. You know, it's a pretty straight line. That's why they call it being straight. So because exploring and having different stops on that journey is so common for people who aren't straight, it seems to them that people who are stuck in the one part are stuck in a phase because they'd moved on from it, right? To everybody else, it was just a pit stop for them. And it's almost like meeting somebody who still listens to Avril Lavigne. And you're like,
Hey.
what? That's not a phase? You still genuinely love Avril Lavigne, you know? And
Yes.
Avril Lavigne, what the hell? Skater Boy is a banger, dude. Yeah.
Especially with her recent collab with Tony Hawk on
Yeah,
TikTok.
I saw that on Instagram. That was badass. And she was wearing
Is
the
that why
skate.
you mentioned Avril Lavigne?
Hasn't aged a day. Has not
I
aged
know. I mean, Melissa.
But yeah, I think that that's why another reason that bi people get a bad rep in the community is because a lot of people see it as them having been stuck in a phase when, like, I moved on, I evolved into my current sexuality now, and so there's this sort of shaming also for being quote unquote stuck on your journey.
Yeah, like you're less evolved.
Yeah,
You're not quite there. You're still a Padawan. You're not a
yeah.
you know.
If you're like, there's this idea that if you're bisexual, you're just a baby gay. What do you guys have to
Yeah.
say about that?
Ooh.
The thing is, okay, so my thing about this is, one, there is nothing wrong with phases. You know?
Yes.
Life is just a series of phases. You go through phases in your life, and I feel like it's only in sexuality where we really demonize people having a phase. You know, anywhere else in any kind of process, you have a business proposal, you have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and all the phases are important to completing the project. And it's the same with your life. All of the phases that you go through in your life are important. That being said, while for some people it may be a quote unquote phase, or it is something they want to explore, people change. You know, people change, they grow, they go into different things. And it's not like Pokemon where you have like one evolution. It's more like Digimon where it just goes into all sorts of different
If
things.
you're an Eevee,
Yes.
Yes.
It's more like you're an
Yes!
Eevee.
I love that.
And you can stay an Eevee if you want. You can also stay a Pikachu. Look at Pikachu. He stayed a Pikachu. And he's fine. You know, no one's like, why aren't you a Raichu? You know, nobody
also
asks.
Meowth never leveled up to a Persian, and he's like the only Pokemon that can pop, dude. So you know what? He's super cool.
Exactly.
Isn't there also like a gay Pokemon, like a straight up gay evolution Pokemon?
I didn't realize they had sexualities.
Sorry, no. Yeah, they do though. The Sylveon,
Yeah.
which is an evolution of Eevee, I kid you not, wears the look at the colors. Look at the colors of the Sylveon.
Googling
How
it
many
now.
colors are there?
Oh, trans flag colors.
Actually,
Yeah.
I saw this
Yeah.
tweet where somebody messaged Nintendo, I think, and asked if Pokemon had sexualities, because like Pokemon are thought to be as intelligent as human beings. Like they're sentient as well. So if they were to be sentient, then would they have sexualities? And then so somebody like messaged Nintendo because their kid was asking, and Nintendo was like, "Oh, that's a very interesting idea. Thanks for bringing that up."
So does that mean they're considering it? Nintendo, tell us more.
I think they're
I mean,
considering.
there's some. If
But
you
maybe
really
for
want to
the
get into
next
Pokemon,
one.
like with Gen 1, there were already some Pokemon that had established gender, specifically Nidoran and Nidorina. Nidoran male and Nidoran female. And they were, I think, the only Pokemon that were gendered. If I'm remembering correctly, Mr. Mime and Jinx are there are female Mr. Mimes. They're still called Mr. Mimes, but they look
Love
the
it.
same. They're just female Mr. Mimes, and there's also male Jinxes. But in terms of being male and female, there's only Nido King and Nido Queen. Anyway, Ralph Ubala says in the comments, "By erasure with the community is anyway more painful to endure than comments coming from straight folks." Can you guys
Yes.
speak to that?
Because you already know what it's like to have your
Yeah.
sexuality demonized and questioned and discriminated against, and you're doing it yourself. It's just
Oh my
mind
goodness.
blowing.
Is it because it
I
feels to
heard
me like
like
it's gatekeeping.
It is. It's
I
like
did hear stories about like gatekeeping and Pride where um this this bi person brought their opposite sex partner or something like that, and like the
Mhm.
lesbians and the gays were like, "This is not for you because your partner, like you're a guy and a girl,
we're
so
straight
it's not for you.
passing.
You're not supposed to be here." Like,
Mhm.
really? Excuse
They're
me.
gatekeeping.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think it's
Yes.
because like we're really coming, we're in a hierarchical society, right? We are in a
Mhm.
hierarchical society, and we're not going to change that anytime soon. I hope we do. But straights are at the top of the totem pole, right? And then now gays and lesbians, we're coming up. We're still at the middle of the totem pole, right? And then I think it just sometimes when you're a marginalized group, you want to experience power. You want to experience the thing that has been deprived of you your entire life. So you exercise that power over people who are lower than the totem pole. And apparently that's bisexuals.
I
I
have a
think
question.
there's some anger there, I think.
I
Some
have a
anger
question
and
for
some jealousy.
Trisha. Trisha, you were bi,
Yes.
but I often hear you refer to yourself as lesbian.
Yeah.
In fact, just now when you said that the straights were at the top of the totem pole and gays and lesbians, we're coming up to the top. Uh, is that a conscious thing? Because like a remnant of I need people to know that I like women more. Why don't you refer to yourself as bi, if that since that's what you are?
I refer to myself by many terms: queer, bi, lesbian,
Mhm.
gay, whatever. I just whatever feels right in the sentence.
Okay.
And that's really just because like I've acknowledged that I've changed over time, and sometimes like I feel like you can change, and sometimes like I have cycles as well. The way that I am bisexual is cyclical, so I'll have a period of like 4 years where I'll want to sleep with men, and then a
Okay.
period where I want to sleep with women, and then now I'm kind of coming right back around to dick. And I just noticed this pattern in myself, so it's just like whatever. And I was a lesbian for like 15 years, maybe.
I
So it's
thought
also
you
just
were
really
going to,
hard to not say the word lesbian.
I thought you were going to say sometimes I have a period every month and then I like dick again. Just the closer it gets to the blood moon, I
No, it's every
howl
like
and keep
it's
dick
in like years. My cycles are a bit longer.
4 years pala. So it's not every bit. Yeah, four is cyclical.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
changes with the president, the American
Yeah.
president.
Depending on who's in power. So yeah.
Right? Like
Uh,
Biden got elected and now I want men again. So I'm like,
Men are no longer
hmm,
disgusting or less
yeah.
disgusting. But yeah, going back to monosexism, with the straights, bisexuality is treated as illegitimate and as seen in the ways it is over-sexualized with women. How many straight? Yeah. Within the community, bisexuality is treated as a phase. We talked about that. And Ralph also mentioned that earlier. What does making bisexuals illegitimate do? What is the harm in erasing bisexual identity?
It's like you're erasing gay identity or lesbian identity. We're our own thing, you know.
Mm.
That's it. You're erasing an identity. You're erasing straight people.
So
Basically, when you erase somebody's identity, you're also really minimizing the issues that they face because you're like, you're not real, therefore you have no problems. You know, because like you can't if you're not a group and you don't exist, then we can't discriminate against you, and that's just not true.
Yeah,
so
and I think a
whereas
lot of like these misconceptions are like we're like bisexual people are in between. You know, we're like bisexual people are not in between. I feel like
You're half gay,
because
half straight,
yeah,
right?
half
Like that's
gay,
what they
half
call
straight,
you.
or like 70% gay, 30% straight, or something like that. But no, you're 100% bisexual, and whatever you're who you like is who you like. You know, we're like
what are
yeah,
some
we're
of
not in
the
between.
what are some of the things that you as bi people are sick and tired of hearing from straights? What are the and
You
I
want to
mean
have a threesome?
Yeah, no, that's the
maybe not
number one
necessarily
thing.
maybe not necessarily intentionally offensive, but like the curious straights, the ones who ask you things. What are the things that you're
Just
tired of
that.
hearing?
You want to
Just
have a
that
threesome?
and
Like,
a
I
threesome.
have taste. Excuse me. Just because I'm bisexual, I still have taste.
You are
No.
not one of the genders I'm attracted to.
You
Yeah.
should say,
Yeah.
"I am
Yeah.
bisexual, honey, not blind."
And the thing is, as a bisexual woman who's also non-monogamous and a slut by all definitions, it's extra infuriating because I feel like I'm playing into the stereotype of the promiscuous, sex crazed bisexual, and I'm like, no, I'm not bisexual because I'm sex crazed and promiscuous. I'm all of those things separately. You know, they are all separate
There's
and
no
exclusive.
causality there.
Exactly. They just happen to coexist within
Yeah.
me. And even me, I don't like it when people, after immediately finding out I'm bisexual, are like, let's have a threesome. I was on Tinder the other day, and in my profile, I'm very clear about who I am. I have a girlfriend, la la la. And a lot of men, it's always men. It's never the women on Tinder and Bumble. It's always the men who are like, "So when are we having a threesome with your girlfriend?" It's like it's the first line. It's the first line. It's like, I don't even
It's
know you.
assumed. Yeah, so I think that's one stigma that it I'd like our listeners to take away tonight. If you learn one thing tonight, stop inviting bisexual people to your threesomes, man. I mean, or invite them, but don't invite them because they're bi. You know,
Yeah.
that shouldn't be the
No.
decider. Nina says, "Oh, this is a good one. I hate the saying, oh, I have to compete with other people if my partner is bi." Because it's like, oh, if I think what Nina's trying to say, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that in a straight relationship, you just have to worry about one gender. But if you're with somebody who is bi, in that person's mind who is saying this, they have to now compete with everybody.
What does
But
that
Monogamous people
mean?
are
Like,
very weird.
is your partner like? Are you afraid your partner's gonna cheat on you? I mean, do you not trust your partner? Is that? I don't understand.
That sounds like what it is. It's just like, well, now the field is twice as wide, and it's just like, but aren't you monogamous? I'm assuming. Couldn't that just be like,
if you're monogamous, then it shouldn't really make a difference. It's your partner's loyalty you have to worry about, not with their sexuality.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's nothing
you have to
about being.
compete with other people regardless, man. Like whether you're straight, bi, whatever, you have to compete with other people. Period.
I would
Uh,
say what is really fun about having a bisexual partner is that you can like crowd watch, people watch, and be like, ooh, cute, ooh, cute, ooh, cute, and just do that. I'm also just non-monogamous, so that could also be that. But it's just so cool. It's cool. We can just point out how everyone's gorgeous. I think we had a comment earlier. Let me look for it because this comment I felt really described the bisexual experience.
well, while you're looking for that, my girlfriend slash fiance is bi, but we used to do that thing where we check out women. Oh, that she's not like hey, but he's attractive, yes. Or I'd be flipping through. She'd be flipping through her Instagram. Her Instagram looks like a burner Instagram of a dude. Okay, there's so many models, and like she's always like, Look at this girl. But now that we have a child, that no longer happens.
I mean, Instagram's still there. I found the comment.
We don't check out the ladies together anymore.
You should take some
no,
time
they're
next
there.
week to do that. So this is the comment I
Yeah.
was looking for. Matt said, it was confusing figuring it out. Had a big sample size of boys and girls growing up. Was just overstimulated by pretty people. And that's just the bi experience. You're overstimulated by pretty people. Like when you watch a movie, like when you watch Trece and just everybody's hot.
By
And
confusion.
you just have like, it's just bi confusion. It's like, are the bisexuals okay? No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Everyone's hot. So what are some other misconceptions that we should debunk about bisexual people? Jabim, as our straight man, do you have any that you can think of? That you may have held in the past, maybe?
No, my older sister's bi, so I never really had any questions I had. I asked her about it, so I think I had a pretty good idea about what being a bisexual was at a young age. She's had girlfriends, I met them. So I mean, I was in grade school, so to me, it was just like, oh, this is a thing.
Boo, being progressive's no fun.
I can tell you what I observed, though. I can tell you what I observed growing up with a bisexual older sister, and that is, it's true. Especially when you're younger. I don't think that this is the case anymore for young people today, because young people are so into gender politics and things like that. I think there's like two groups of young people now, like the super inclusive people and the super intolerant ones, right? Or like grew up in this super inclusive atmosphere environment, and they're just growing up like, no, we want to be hyper conservative again. So when I was growing up, seeing my sister explore and discover her sexuality by dating women, she'd still hang out with her guy friends, and I witnessed the difference in how they were treated. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't know that there was anything wrong with that. I thought that that's what, and because my sister was, if she was uncomfortable with any of the things that they'd ever said, then she never made it obvious. So I thought that it was just par for the course. Of course, growing up, I realized that it was not, but because they were my sister's friends, I'm sure that she afforded them a little more leeway than had those comments come from strangers. So there's a lot of nuance to it as well.
I think I know what Kai would say if she were here. Kai, if you're in the comments, you said you'd be here, but maybe you're at work, but sound off if you're here. I think if we had to ask her what her favorite or least favorite misconception is about bisexual people, is that when you're bisexual, you fall in love with 2+ genders and are sexually attracted to 2+ genders. So this is not like always true. And Kai has talked about this on the show before, where she's bisexual, she's sexually attracted to 2 or more genders, but she's homoromantic. So she won't date a dude, she won't go and have a relationship with one. So it is actually really. Yes, sorry.
I was just going to go to Matt's comment. Another misconception, a really good one that we got. Matt says, I know people who try bi as a fad, but not really. Some kind of annoying when they back out in the sheets.
Oh.
That's another thing that I hear. Try.
Okay. I'm not going to like super demonize these people, because they're trying and they're exploring. They may not be like actually bi, they could be bi-curious. And obviously each experience is different. Like what if they just didn't want to have sex with you? Like it's doesn't mean they're not bi, it's just like you're not you. So I feel like there's like a lot of going into this. And I think that now more and more bisexuals are coming out and there's more discussions about bisexuality. We're gonna kind of be a little bit less anal about this kind of thing, because for me it's like, just do the thing. Just do the thing that you want to do. Sleep with the people you want to sleep with and date with the people you want to date. And, if it turns out that you're bi, cool. But if it doesn't mean that you tried bisexuality and you were just like dipping your toes and now you've hurt me. It's just that's just not how sexuality works, man.
So I think the points that we've covered so far is that bi erasure is a real thing. We've talked about what bi erasure is. Um, Females, when portrayed as bisexuals in the media, are often over-sexualized. Men, when portrayed in the media as bisexual, are often effeminate.
I do wish we had a bi man on the show. It's a very different experience being a bi man.
I'm sure it is. And that the misconception that bisexuality is a 50-50 distribution, which it is not. And we also touched upon the non-relationship between bisexuality and promiscuity. They don't necessarily have anything to do with one another. And we've also touched upon the fact that bisexuality is not having sex and falling in love with just two genders. And I wouldn't fault anyone for thinking that. I mean, if you just look at it etymologically speaking, it's bisexuality. It's literally spelled out for you that way. But if you learn something from this episode, we hope that the nuance.
For most of us, your sexuality is the same as your romantic orientation. For most of us, for many of us, but it's not always the case. That's just what we're saying.
All right. We've also okay. So I think this is a good time to wrap up everything we've learned in a nice, neat little bundle, and summarize it with whatever label you choose. You choose what feels right. To go back to our Pokemon analogy, to be the best, you just have to throw your Pokeball at whatever stands in front of you and say, hey, I choose you. And who knows, with enough love, that might evolve into something beautiful.
So Pokemon is a bisexual. It's a bisexual icon now. All Pokemon are bisexual icons. Especially Sylveon and Eevee evolutions. So like more on this like label that you choose, we've talked about how your sexuality evolves over time. And I don't even think that sexuality is a destination. It's all journey because it can change over time.
I agree.
Right? Like the label that you choose when like if you think you're bisexual, some people they want to choose like including all of their past history. Some people only want to choose what they're going through now, so they might change identifiers when that happens. But whatever it is, remember that while it may be a quote unquote phase for others, it's not always a phase for everyone else, So if it ain't your relationship and you're not paying their bills and they're not hurting you by identifying as bisexual, then just chill out, man.
I think people treat sexual history as like a rap sheet for crime. They'll look at your past exploits and be like, oh, you're a jewel thief. But it's not like that. Sexuality, your sexual experience aren't like crimes. And they don't define your past experience.
Only if you do it right.
Yeah, only if you do it right. Yeah, only if you do it right does it feel illegal. But yeah, sexuality is not like that, and I think it's not a fair comparison. You can, it's not erasing your history. It's not picking and choosing the parts of your sexuality that you like and want to keep. It's picking the parts of your sexuality that you've learned from, and that you now know is you. You have garnered information and knowledge through these experiences. It is not a history of your actions. It is not a collective history of your actions. It's what informs who you are today. And I just, for anyone who feels excluded from the conversation because they have found the end of their journey, we say that sexuality is a journey, and I think some people tend to feel excluded. I think when we talk about sexuality, some straights tend to feel excluded because as we talked about earlier, it's a straight line for us, and because it's a straight line and because there's not many pit stops along the way, we reach our destination pretty effing quick. So to us, it's like, of course there's a destination. What are you talking about? Pick a side, So I just, to anybody who feels left out because they have found a destination, just because we say that sexuality is a journey, it doesn't invalidate your sexuality just because you've settled on one. we just want to remind you that for many, it's not always that.
Good words to end on. So that was our episode for bisexuality. Before we say goodbye, let's open the floor up to questions from our customers. For today's opening up, we have, I mean, like, I don't know why I always put in the spiel, we have an anonymous letter. It's not like anybody signs their name.
Anon,
But,
right? Okay.
This person literally said, "Hello, please keep me anonymous." And it's like, I don't even have your name. So this person asks, just want to ask for some tips about going down on my girlfriend. I'm bi. She's my first relationship, romantic and sexual. We're turning 2 years soon, and I've only gone down on her once. She's had a lot of sexual partners before, so I'm kind of insecure about that. So yeah, I don't know what to do. That is the letter.
Talk to her, man.
My response to this is going to be very straight. I have nothing to give in the context of, I'm assuming because she says that she and her girlfriend are bi, that this is someone who identifies as female sending us this letter. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't give any practical like tips, technique, advice because every person has their own unique thing, right? You have to discover what your partner likes. I mean, we've talked about this in previous episodes. Please, if you like this episode, check us out on Spotify. We're uploading every week now. Check out our past episodes where we talk about intimacy and building intimacy. Yeah, in order to be good at going down, you have to talk to your partner, and your partner has to talk to you about what's happening down there while you're doing it. But a lot can be done beforehand to make the experience pleasurable, and I think that's where I can help. There was a really, really good tweet recently from I forget who. They also have a podcast. Season?
Shakira season.
Shakira season. Have you seen this tweet?
K Talk or something like that? I haven't seen the tweet.
I don't know, but she tweeted something about women and their vaginas, about how there's a stigma. Women grow up with a stigma that, your vagina is ugly, your vagina is it smells bad, stinky. So she was talking about on her podcast, I think she was talking about lesbian visibility, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but that stuck in my mind. And I think if you're super worried about going down on your partner, the best thing that you can do is to put them at ease. The more relaxed they are, then the more easygoing it'll be for you. Make them feel loved, make them feel pretty, make them feel special. And you know what? Everything else will follow.
I guess my angle here, you covered a lot of the sexy time part. What I'm going to cover here is the line where our anonymous person writes, she's had a lot of sexual partners before, so I'm kind of insecure about that. My advice for you would just to be decouple your idea. Just stop thinking about her past partners. Okay. Like, as a person who has had multiple sexual partners, yeah, that kind of informs like my idea of what kind of sex I like. So because I've had multiple sexual partners, I know what I like. So she probably knows what she likes. So ask her, and just don't think about everybody in her past. They're in her past. You're here now. You're the one in front of her. So how can you make it the best? That's
Awesome.
it.
Yeah, same. Ditto.
Ditto. Okay, so do you want to promote any of your socials before we go?
I just want to read Is She Monic's reply first, because this is for her. Yeah, she says, as someone who is attracted to women and hasn't had any experience with a girl at the same time, I kind of feel the sender. I'd be intimidated and insecure for the first few times as well. And we're glad you're tuned in tonight, Is She Monic. We hope that when your time comes, you'll think of us. You'll think of the advice that we gave. All right. Promote things. Yes, I want to promote the awareness that Who Let the Dogs Out is a feminist anti-catcalling anthem, which you might not have known. All right, it's a song that we've been singing to since the year 2000, but it's a super catchy song. Who let the dogs out? Who? But if you listen to the first verse of the song, it very clearly states that the guys, the Baja men, are denouncing the Baja boys that catcall people. Well, the party was nice. The party was pumping. Hey, yippee-yi-yo. And everybody having a ball. Until the fellas started name calling and the girls respond to the call. I heard a woman shout out, "Who let the dogs out?" The woman is literally calling the cat caller a dog. So I want to promote Who Let the Dogs Out as a feminist anti-catcalling anthem. I think it's about time that the song receives the respect it deserves. Thank you, Baha Men.
It's the anti-no touch.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Bresh?
You can follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/BreshSelections. That's it.
All right. And I am
find
at
my music-
Trisha.
Sorry.
Great music too.
Thank you.
So I am at Trisha O'Bannon on Twitter. I just also want to promote an online 2-day Pride event called Prism, Reign of CPPN Pride Spaces and Stories. So this is a Pride event launched by our podcast network, Cutprint Podcast. It is going to go live on their Facebook page on June 25 and 26 from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So it's a 2-day virtual event that you can check out on the Cutprint Podcast Network Facebook. And there's like a whole lineup of shows. I think Inka Magnaya is going to show up. Janly Dunka is going to be there. And of course, Now Open, your favorite sex podcast, has a very special segment on queer baiting. So you can catch that on day 2 on June 26th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So if you like our weekly shows, please support us there as well. And all of the other amazing creators who are on in that event. So yeah, that is it. Make sure to also stay updated with Now Open by following us on Facebook and Twitter at NowOpenPH. Our past episodes, as Jubim said, are available on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Don't forget to join our Discord server to hang out with the hosts, fans, and friends of Now Open, and subscribe to our coffee page. That is cod-fee. It's the dash, right? cod-fee.com/NowOpenPH. I don't know what punctuation marks are. So go to that link to get bonus content and other special perks. So I am here to announce next week's episode. So our episode next week, I'm actually really, really excited about this. We covered it a little bit in our Pride as Protest episode, which you can catch on Facebook. So next week we are talking about no kink at Pride. Sorry, there should be like a.
Oh, that's next week already. Nice.
Yes, it's next week. So to round off our Pride Month themed shows, we're going to talk about, does kink really belong at Pride? Are we over-sexualizing it, or are we just repressed hoes? Find out next week. We'll
It'll
also
be the shortest episode ever. Be like, no, yes, done.
I think I would also like to announce that we're debuting a new episode format next week. We're trying out some new things here. Okay, so if you want to see,
big time now, we got picked up by the network.
I know, we can't swear and we have to innovate. So yeah, check out next week. We have a new podcast format and let's see how it works. See y'all when we next open.
Ding, 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 ding.